I've got some different stuff to show you. I don't expect you all to believe it, but I just have to try and lay it out as best as I possibly could. You must just always remember that as a photographer, my first and foremost mission is to have my sensors absolutely clear, with my L lenses absolutely clear. I love using good glass. And using a 7D Mark II, a high speed frame rate wildlife camera, I'm able to capture everything as they are. So when we start to see weird blurry things and weird things, it really does make me investigate deeper. So this is just a little show of what is in our atmosphere all around us all the time. And obviously I still can't go, they're aliens and they're UFOs. The only thing that I could tell you is that they are not birds, insects, butterflies. They're not those things. These are a whole separate group that interact with everything in our nature, and they like to mimic. And boy, it's going to be hard for me to start proving the mimicking thing, but I'm going to slowly show you, and hopefully new footage is going to unveil and reveal more. But for now, I want to concentrate on these in the atmosphere. So I'm going to show you some birds, and know that my 7D Mark II does 10 frames a second. Birds remain birds, dragonflies remain dragonflies. And especially when high shutter speeds, when I'm shooting like 2,000, 3,000 shutter speed to keep everything really fast and crisp. So to begin, I have to really prove to you my lens and my sensor at shooting at f22, which is a f-stop that's just going to bring out any fault I've got. And one day these fish eagles were making huge noises. I grabbed my camera and I started snapping away. And only in the editing suite did I find what they were really making all the racket for. At first I thought they're mating calls, but on closer inspection there were elements interacting with the eagles, and the eagles really did understand that they were in their space. When I looked at this, I was like quite bemused, but looking at the eagles and looking in the direction of these guys, wow, it was like, there won't be any other bird flying with the king of the lake. There's not insects and bugs that are that big. So the very next day I found a little fire. There were 2 fish eagles just hovering above the smoke, and all of a sudden I get this weird thing happening. And I know, Des, you would be going, wow, that's a spot, it's a spot in your lens, but watch it move. So now I'm shooting 10 frames a second. So remember, all these images are really going really quick. So here's one frame, he stays in the same position. Now I'm going to the next frame now. Same position, he moves slightly to the left. Going to the next frame now. Stayed in the exact same position. Going to the next frame. Yep, moved to the left, which is like impossible. You're not going to get a spot in your lens that's just going to move like this. Stayed in the same spot as I went to the next frame, and then all of a sudden when I moved to the next frame, he's completely gone. And all of that was like within 2-3 seconds, taking those snaps. Very, very odd as a photographer to have those come up. So now I'm very inquisitive. If I had to make a little fire at home, cover it with a wet blanket and make some of my smoke, what will come? Will there be elements I can find? So that's exactly what I did. And I think within a minute, I left the smoke to just rise a little bit for about a minute or 2. And then I started shooting in rapid succession because I know that everything moves really fast. Now all of a sudden, all these spots come back up into my lens, but moving, so they're not fixed. And they're all coming from the back lake, which is where I've been filming all my UFOs. I live on the small lake, behind us is the big lake. So the smoke is wafting itself to the big lake, and from the big lake, all of these guys are just coming. One by one by one by one, but really fast. Obviously I can't see them with my own eyes. I just get to edit in the studio. But there were some images where I got really close to some of these, and it's just no ways that this is an insect or a bird. The way that it comes from way up in the sky so quickly like a bullet. They are just not spots in my lenses or cameras. These objects are all over the show, and they are interacting with our nature. I've gone through so many bits. I can't sit here and just show you how many of these objects are there. But you must know that depth of field and everything else, even if he was a little bit further in the background, we would see other things on it. A wing, a head, a tail. There is nothing. It stays an orb. It stays So I'm just going to quickly wrap up here. I've got another few movies I'm going to make for you guys, but this was just a little show of what's in my photographs. Elements like this really are like, oh, little fire make it home, and all of a sudden he pops out way up there in the atmosphere. So the mimic part is going to be very confusing and hard to prove. You're going to need a real lot of evidence for this sort of stuff. But this is as close as I can get, because I shoot a lot of butterflies, whether they're in focus or out of focus. Regardless of the fact, the butterfly will remain a butterfly. But there are some elements that I believe are mimicking our butterflies, but are not butterflies. And the closest to this little object that I've actually seen, believe it or not, is that big queen. And the reason being is that this bottom piece of black and that white soft wing looks very, very similar to this bottom piece of black and this white soft wing. That would obviously just be a bigger element. So yeah, some more deep stuff for you guys to think about on this Sunday.